Hi, guys. Welcome to Needing a Meeting. My name is Carol. I am your swollen cheeked host today. I had some major dental work done yesterday, and yeah, paying the price for that today. Hello, everybody here. Let me see. Hi, Henny. Hi, Seventh Son. Steve. Hi, Rolling Stone. Hi, CK. Hi, One with Cat's Shell. Good to see you. Hi, Plant Freak. And Christy has. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Well, it is what it is.
Yes, yes, and I imagine it's not fun.
Christy has graciously agreed to read from one of her handbooks.
Yes, yes, I'm going to read from the Smart Recovery Family and Friends, and I'm going to read about inner dialogue in managing feelings because um, I think, especially this time of year, that's a good thing to kind of have and to revisit. So um,
Hi,
I thought
Megan. Hi,
we'd do
Mischief.
that.
Hi, Ben.
Hello. Rolling Stone, Plant Freak,
Hi, Annie.
Henny, Shell, Megan, anyone else that I missed?
It's good to see y'all. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, Monty's 69. Glad you're here.
Hello,
Um,
Mom.
oh,
Welcome.
yes.
I don't normally look like this, just so you know.
Yeah, she had to have a lot of a bone graft and a tooth removed and a whole bunch of stuff
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna be guys listening while making my dinner. All right, awesome. Okay, so inner dialogue, managing feelings. The book Get Your Loved One Sober Alternatives to Nagging, Pleading, and Threatening is based on the scientifically validated CRAFT, Community Reinforcement and Family Training Model. It provides guidance that you can use to recognize how you and your loved one interact and to help you change any unhelpful patterns in order to achieve healthier and happier results. Um, Getting your loved one sober. I'm just going to say the book. The book advises family and friends to remain calm, avoid using their temper, and avoid catastrophizing or awfulizing. Is that even really a word? Situations in order to interact with their loved one in a non-confrontational way. This can be quite challenging for friends and family who have developed habitual patterns of thinking and interacting with their loved one that get in the way of calm and non confrontational conversation. This section will give you tools. Okay, exchange vocabulary. Upset feelings are usually caused by the way we are thinking about what is happening, not by the events themselves. To change your feelings and behavior, try the following exchange vocabulary. I call this reframing. So when I say let's reframe something, this is actually kind of what I'm talking about. The idea was given to me by a client who related it to an exchange list for unhealthy foods. When you first try this new way of thinking, it might not feel right. The more you do it, however, the more natural these realistic beliefs will become. I think you will like the results, but prove it for yourself by giving it a fair try. So, word exchange. Instead of thinking must, think prefer. Instead of should, choose to. Have to, want to. Cannot, choose not to. And that's really powerful, right? Like if you say I choose not to, that really gives you all of the power. Whereas if you say I can't, it's kind of like you're giving away your power to the situation or the person.
Well, and
Ought,
it's just counterproductive. You can't go
yes,
anywhere with I can't.
right, exactly, exactly. Um, ought, had better, all, many, always, often. can't stand, don't like, awful, highly undesirable, bad person, bad behavior. I love that because the person isn't bad. Typically, it's their behavior, it's their actions, it's, whatever. But I really like that one. I am a failure. I failed at. Statement exchange. I have to do well. Try saying, I want to do well. You should not do that. I prefer you not do that. You never help me. You rarely help me. I cannot stand my job. I do not like my job. You're a bad boy. That behavior is undesirable. I'm a loser. I failed at this one task. I need love. I want love, but I don't need it. Emotional vocabulary exchange does not endeavor to eliminate emotions. Quite the contrary. Emotions are very useful and part of the human advantage when appropriate. Instead of saying anxious, say concerned, depressed, sad, angry, annoyed, guilt, remorse, shame, regret, hurt, disappointed, jealous, concerned for my relationship. Anti-awfulizing. I can't say that word, and I honestly, y'all, I don't really know that it is a word. I'm sure it's a word, it's in the book, but my goodness. All right. So, how awful is awful, and how terrible is terrible? It is helpful to put events into perspective, to actively and forcefully expand our focus to see life realistically. We often say something is awful and get a feeling that is more than 100% bad. But how can anything be more than 100%? When we say, I cannot stand it, but yet we do. So let's take these facts and begin to manage our thoughts and perspectives, and as a result, directly manage our feelings and behaviors as well. We are not suggesting that you sugarcoat or minimize the situation. There is real distress and discomfort in this world. Recognition of this real distress is important. What we are saying is, while recognizing the real distress in a situation, it is to also, at the same time, recognize very clearly and very factually where the situation lies in the spectrum of distress, and to recognize that we can stand it. Um, this is where I ask, what do we know to be true? A lot, because it really helps you get into that mindset of, is this actually taking place? Is this actually true? Or is this how I'm feeling and my emotions are making it worse than it actually is?
And
So
that is in the heat of the moment, that's one of the harder things to decipher.
it really is.
Really
Yes.
hard
Yes.
to separate your feelings from reality.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's not it is not an easy thing to do. And I think this is, you know, after the situation, for me, when I'm trying to like sort out what it is, because yeah, um, in the heat of the moment is very difficult.
Mhm.
So here's the tool to realize reality. First, rate your existing situation on a scale of 0 to 100%. 100% is bad. Secondly, ask yourself, how terrible is it? Could it get worse? Is it really as frequent as it feels? How long will it really last? Can I stand this? Now
Another
for a bit of
thing that's
oh,
hard to decipher is like, it seems like every time you notice it, it seems like it's always happening, and it may or may
yes,
not be.
yes. And for me, what I found that helps me in the moment, when I find my voice start rising, I've really, it took a lot of practice, but I have gotten to the point where when I hear myself yelling, I stop and I breathe and I just step back and I'm like, I consciously in my mind, I say, I'm taking back control of my power in this situation. And I just start talking calmly. And then that's when my boundaries come into play. And it's like, look, if this conversation cannot continue in a healthy manner, it's done. And we'll come back to it. But it does take a lot. And to be fair, I've never had these conversations with someone in active addiction, I've never had these conversations in a situation where, it was like that. And when I look back to um, previous relationships, I really was awful at it in the moment. And I was not good. But it's that learning opportunity that helped me to get better. So don't think that everybody is just great at it at the beginning, and that this is easy, because it is difficult. And I think even if you do it on the other side of the conversation, as long as you practice it, I think that's what's, important. Um, let's see. And finally, for the antidote, is there nothing occurring at this time that is good? Is there nothing that I can do to make something good happen? It is in these simple and factual ways that we realistically manage and develop a reality based perspective on life. Um, let's see. Okay, there's just one more page here. Resisting invitations to guilt and self blame. It is common for people in a close relationship with someone who has drug and or alcohol dependency to blame themselves and to feel guilty about their loved one's behavior. This is particularly common for parents and partners, but can also strike other family members or close friends. There can be subtle and not so subtle invitations to take the blame for your loved one's drinking or drug use, either from your loved one or from those around you or from yourself. Sometimes these invitations are in the form of your loved one making comments such as, if you didn't nag me so much, I wouldn't need to drink. They can
Mhm.
also come from you thinking thoughts such as, if only I could be more helpful husband, wife, mother, son, my loved one would stop drinking. I think we can add in there too, if you're in an abusive relationship, I remember thinking that if I could only be better, this would stop. So I can see where that could apply to a lot of different situations. It is normal to have regrets and wish that you could have done things differently in life. However, excessive guilt and self-blame can be a crippling force in your own life and damaging to your relationship with your loved one. Beating yourself up about any mistakes you have made and taking on blame for your loved one's self destructive behavior can have the following effects: leave you feeling stuck and hopeless, unable to move forward in your own life, lead you to put up with behavior that is not acceptable, and keep you from setting limits on standing up for your own rights. This is not helpful for you or your loved one. Encourage you to become overly responsible for your loved one, thus preventing them from taking responsibility for themselves, leave you open to being manipulated by your loved one, which again is not helpful to you or to them, leave you open to getting sick yourself. Many physical and mental problems are associated with the stress experienced by family and friends who have a loved one in an addiction: burnout, depression, anxiety, heart disease, etc.
Wow.
There is no problem so awful that you cannot add some guilt to it and make it even worse.
Oh.
Bill Watterson. Ideas for letting go of guilt and blame. Ask yourself, really my fault? Objectively, you cannot cause a person to drink, take drugs. Everyone responds to life stressors differently, and your loved one has responded by drinking and or taking drugs. Remind yourself that no one is perfect. You have probably done the best you could in the circumstances. Think about all of the other influences in your loved one's life that are outside of your control. These include genetics, peer group, social influences, media, etc. Remind yourself that you also are a product of your own set of circumstances and influences. Try to view yourself with compassion rather than judgment. That is so important. Be compassionate to yourself.
Yeah.
Um, if you find this difficult, oh,
Oh, I
go
was
ahead.
just gonna say, and just keep in mind that it is a sickness.
Yes,
Somebody in active addiction, it is a sickness, and it is a hard one to
yes, yes,
get free from. And the
right.
mistress said here, I think people stop listening once you start shouting. They just hear noise. I noticed this with my grandchildren and their parents. Wish I had realized this with my own children.
Mm-hmm. Um, that's true. I mean, I was a shouter, and I found that I shouted a lot because I just didn't feel heard. Like the less I felt heard, the more I shouted, the more angry I got, the higher the level went. And then when I realized that I could control the argument as far as like, you know what, we're not doing this today. Um, it took me a long time to learn it. It really, like, this was not an overnight thing. But now like I said, um, just even seeing that that's not a helpful behavior for me, that was it. Like, this is, I don't want to be that person. This is a destructive behavior, not helpful. It doesn't help me and my husband to resolve a situation. And for
Addiction
me and him,
worst in people on both
it
sides
does.
of the relationship. It
It
just
it
does.
really does. Yeah, and if you're in a situation where you only see each other once every 6 months, you can't afford to have something damaged. You know what I mean? So, if it's a loving relationship, you can't afford to damage that. Again, it took a lot of years. I mean, y'all, I'm 47 and I just kind of started getting the hang of this. So it's not like I was just born knowing how to do any of this. Um, Uh, okay. Try thinking of yourself as your own best friend. If your friend was in your shoes, how would you respond to the situation? Would you blame your friend for their loved one's addiction? Remind yourself that continuing to feel guilt and self blame does not help the situation and may even be making it worse. If appropriate, make amends by apologizing for any hurt you might have caused in the past and talk about how things can be different in the future. My mama always said you got to put the past behind you before you can move on. Forrest Gump. And
Mr. said, yes, Christy, I just wanted them to hear me, and it has the opposite effect.
yes,
And Kristen, I know this one, Kristen. Oh, I so know this one. Um, for me, it is so hard to overcome the desire to fix the conflict right then and there. I tend to keep going when I should take a break. Yeah, boy, do I know that one.
but it's amazing that you're self-aware of that. And when you're aware, that's when you can start, because then it's conscious, right? We can't control our subconscious. We can't control the things that we just inherently do that we're not aware of. But when you're aware of it, um, that's when you can think on ways of how to, change the conversation, journal on it, watch YouTube videos. But congratulations for being self-aware on that. Because just knowing that is a huge part of it.
I mean, it's like some kind of something takes over and you just can't stop yourself.
Yes. Yes.
And it's maddening. It's not doing anything
Oh
but
no.
make it worse. I know that one
Oh
so
yeah.
well.
And there have been times where it's like I'm looking down on myself, like it's almost like an out of body experience without really being one. And you're just like, am I that vile human? Because that's exactly when I talk hobbit rage, like it really is. You're like, oh, whoa. And it is. And I think it goes to show everybody it's not just an addictive thing. Like it's people can but I think it's good to be aware what happened.
Mischief said, I remember as a kid, my dad would lecture me for hours and ask me to repeat what he'd said. It was torturous. That sounds like torture. And then Plant Freak says, yeah, you can't stop yourself feeling.
Yeah.
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 And Kristen says, thank you. And yes, exactly. It's like being possessed or something.
Really,
100%.
it really is. It really is.
Becca,
Hi, Rebecca. Y- you
as
know
you can,
a pup groomer, Anik. And I
Pup Grip,
think once you become aware, you can start even just putting down a journal entry. I'm aware of this. And because it shows that you're looking, to me it shows that you're looking inward and you're looking at yourself and you're evaluating yourself and you're seeing how can I become better as a person, and that is never ever ever a bad thing. And I think it's amazing when people um you know have that self-awareness, and that's really what it is, just knowing that. It's such a big thing because there's a lot of people who don't, you know. I
Hi,
remember being,
Rebecca.
hi.
How are you?
Good. Sorry. I was just muting
Good.
myself because I started with the YouTube going live and I realize I give feedback probably when I connect if YouTube is still on at the same time we're talking because I'll hear it in two places.
Oh, yeah.
It's all good.
Oh,
How are
yeah.
you all?
Ah,
Good.
well, as you can see, I'm kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
This is just recovering from surgery. That's all it is. But,
Mhm.
and in the barn last night, I kept bending over, and you're not supposed to do that for 48 hours. So I hope I didn't do
Oh.
any permanent damage.
Is there
CK, hello.
anything you need that we can do for you?
Well, Christy's doing it right now. She's kind of taking over the reading, and
That's awesome.
and keeping the conversation going.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Ben.
I wanted, so Rebecca, I remember being yelled at all the time by my parents and Mischief saying, you know, I know Rolling Stone, I would rather have a good hiding.
Yeah,
Um, you know, it's got to be difficult to grow up, being yelled at,
yeah,
um, like that.
yeah,
Um, and I can see how it would make you kind of like, oh, is this me? Like internalize a lot of things. Is this me? What did I do? What did I do wrong? How did and could really cause you to be fearful of your emotions or your thoughts or your
yeah.
actions,
That's
um,
true. That
in
is
a
so
big way.
true.
Because if you're in a home where that's happening, you're going to shut that part of yourself down. And if you, let's say that you're in a home where that happens, and then you get married and that happens, and then let's say you leave or whatever, then you're an adult at that point, and you didn't learn all of those years. What you learned was to suppress and smash down and not
Yeah,
how to communicate. And so, and especially if you're coming out of an addictive behavior, I could see where that could be really overwhelming. To not even, um, I mean, it would just be a lot of things they would think you couldn't verbalize. Or leaving a cult or whatever, you're leaving an abusive relationship. Like it's,
Mhm.
you know,
You learn
uh,
to not trust to say anything. And I think some days that may be why I'm even extra sensitive and why I can kind of that empath portion that allows me to go into a room and kind of sense the room and get feelings because you had to. You didn't know
yeah,
what you were, at least for me, I
yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
what I was coming home to. I didn't know
yeah.
what I was going to do that would set my parents off. And
Right.
I was never good enough. So it didn't matter what it was. I was always in trouble for
I think
everything.
Um,
And
oh,
I think sometimes that empathic response is more of a trauma response because if you didn't know what you were walking into, you had to be able to read people's
Yes.
energies. Whereas somebody who maybe wasn't in that situation would just read people's energies and be like, well, what's going on here? Why am I doing that? But I think there's a lot of layers of things that we might think are just part of our personalities that might actually really be trauma responses. And, from things that maybe, we didn't know or, we don't really remember. I remember one time my dad told me, he's like, you can tell the kind of childhood that someone had by where their earliest memory is, because the more traumatic the childhood, the earlier the memories. And I was like, that doesn't make sense because I didn't have that. So my earliest memories aren't into I'm much, much, much later. Um, but then when I met certain people who have had very traumatic childhoods, they remember like 3, 4, 5 years old. And I cannot remember that. And so I thought that was interesting. And so now, when I try to work with people, I try to see, is this who they are? Or is this a trauma response to something? Because, like I said, even being empathic can be a trauma response because you're overly sensitive to what am I walking into? Which is a
Mhm.
very scary feeling.
Yeah.
That's a very scary feeling,
Yeah.
especially in your own home by
Yeah.
people who are supposed to love and care for you, whether that's your parents or a caregiver or your spouse or whatever that looks like for you. That's really hard. And I think it's harder knowing I know two people that are extremely close to me that had really abusive childhoods. um, it's very difficult for them as an adult. And honestly, it's very difficult for me to understand that. So I've done a lot of looking into trauma so that I can relate to them, so that I can understand the very different lenses that we see things through. And I think the most
100%.
profound thing for me was realizing that these people who were that abused at very early ages never learned to trust because they never bonded and trusted the person that was supposed to love and care for them the most. And if they
Yes.
couldn't do that with a parent, how are they going to do it with a spouse? How are they going to do it with this? And it really skews the whole relationship sometimes.
I think that's a lot of the not worthy, because
Yeah.
there is the cult, but there is
Mhm.
also the part that was never good enough and that my parents didn't love me. I was always, my dad, it was often, what could he get from me? It wasn't, so I don't have a relationship because the only time he's called is when he wanted something.
Mm.
And you learn, yeah, I don't trust myself, and I
Mhm.
don't necessarily trust people. I don't trust, so I do often feel very alone. Even
Yeah.
when there's a group like this and there are people who are looking out for me, and it's hard sometimes when the emotions are there,
Uh-huh.
to remember that there are people I can call,
Right.
because
Right.
Right.
there's still a portion of me that always feels alone, and
Right.
Yeah.
then also doesn't trust. I mean, I've got a lot of therapy, and as I'm starting to
Mhm.
cry here,
Mhm.
I've done a lot of therapy to know that this, like relationships, I didn't want to get into, because I didn't want to ever be married. I did not
Mhm.
want a man in my life, because then a man could control you. Because I was, of course, also patriarchy in
Right.
how I
Right.
was raised. I didn't want somebody that could do that,
Yeah.
or the trust that maybe you could pick somebody out. And I've not always picked good people. I mean, let's
Mhm.
be honest.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right.
it's, so yeah,
It,
absolutely. And it is a coping mechanism, CK. Absolutely.
it is.
Yeah,
And
I
I
want to
and I
read.
wanted to. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to read some of these comments.
Yeah, I
Um,
haven't been looking. Thank you.
uh, Plant Freak says that's exactly it, Christy. Oops, come back. Come back now. Addictions and suppression being the only learned behavior to him. And Rebecca's reading people to see what's coming. And CK says scanning the room is a coping mechanism, CK says.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anik says, I can relate to that so much, Rebecca
Mm-hmm.
and Plant Freak. And Mischief says, it's hard for straights to understand the complexity of addiction. It is. That's why, and it's hard for the addict to understand the addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that's why it's important that we interact with other addicts, or mainly alcoholics in my case. Yeah.
I wanted to address this real quick. As a normie, as a straight, as you say, it is difficult to understand, but I want to encourage you that it's not impossible. Because when I first came here and I came onto the boat, I came looking for help for someone that I loved who was in the middle of addiction that I didn't understand. And I just want to encourage you that I have learned so much about addiction, about the disease, about people, about what it looks like. And although I don't understand the addiction part of it because I don't have that piece, I do understand depression, isolation, not feeling good enough, some of these other things. So, although I might not be the person that you call in that moment when you want to drink, I can be that person that you call in that moment when you're feeling depressed and sad. And so I just wanted to say that if you're a normie out there, if you take the time and listen to people's stories and really try to learn and understand, it does make you see it very differently. And if you would have told me in the middle of last year that I would be here right now, I would have been like, why? Not because I had anything against anybody. I would just be like, well, why would I be doing that? But I have learned so much from you guys, and I just wanted to really say that because you have taught me so much, and I see it now in a way that I never could have. But I just wanted to address that.
Well, and I kind of fall under normie too a little bit, just because drugs and alcohol hasn't been my addiction of choice, but I have other addictions. And so I think that
and we're not here just for drugs and alcohol. It's, there's a lot of things that people need recovery from, and it's easy to tell yourself that you don't if it's not a drug or alcohol problem. But so good on you for acknowledging, because that's the toughest and most important part.
And I'm thankful I have not bought any fabric.
Really? Wow.
I have not bought any fabric since I joined this group. So it's not, I don't feel as alone. So technically I'm still working. Work does not know I'm still working. But I missed you guys, and I needed a place where it was safe, and it's safe here.
Yeah.
And I thank you, everyone.
Right on. Plant Freak says, I think my empathic side may have heightened with many traumas I struggle trying to figure out which trauma I'm dealing with.
Put some light on.
Hi.
Hey.
I gotta turn my camera off for just a second.
This is amazing. I heard from my daughters. If I can get it to show up. There we go.
That's awesome, Cosmic.
That is amazing. I'm so glad. I know you are. Come on. I can't get the comment to show up. There we go. There we go. And I was in my pin comment. Ooh. Addiction is addiction is addiction. The substance is secondary to the behavior. That's it.
Yes.
Addiction is addiction is addiction. The substance is secondary to the behavior. That bore repeating.
Yes, it does.
Wow.
Which actually I'm going to take.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last part, Rebecca.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button on my computer. I took a screenshot of that. It bears writing down and remembering, because I didn't think of myself as an addict a month ago. I mean, I knew there was like the sugar addiction, and I knew I had this issue with money, but I didn't put them together. That, shopping or buying fabric is a coping mechanism. To deal and fight some of the trauma and fight the feelings and stuff the feelings.
Well, Cosmic, that's something. She wished me a happy birthday and a happy new year through her BF.
That's wonderful.
It's something. And that's something. I'm thrilled.
Yes.
I know you are.
Yes. How amazing.
And CK says, if I can get it to come up here. After 34 years, my husband still thinks addicts are losers. A lot of people do.
I would say your husband's, this is bad. Sorry, I was about to say something very nasty.
Yeah.
I think there is far more addicts than maybe there is people that aren't, because we have something. What is it? It could be we're addicted to certain positive things, or it could, like for me, it's fabric or something. I mean, I think we just don't, society doesn't maybe stigmatize it.
Yeah.
Rolling Stone says, as parents of grown kids. Come on, little comment. Show up, please. As parents of grown kids living full lives, we take what we can get. Yeah, that's very, very true. CK, and that's hard. I'm sorry, Plant Freak says.
And I'm so sorry, CK. You are not a freak. You are not a loser. And we're happy you're here.
Yeah,
I'm happy you're here.
I am too, so much. And Cosmic,
Yay.
4 days sober, into detox.
Excellent.
I can get this comment to pin. It starts lagging after a while. Come on, little comment.
Managing
No.
to eat small amounts of homemade chicken soup and only craving sugar. I get that sugar addiction.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm so glad that you're eating small amounts of chicken noodle soup. That sounds amazing.
Mhm. I'm so happy for you. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
now that you mention it, I haven't been on a shopping binge in a little while.
Don't do it.
Right.
No, I was going to say, well, part of it is our culture is built on, the United States culture is built on consumerism and buying stuff. And there's a certain portion that you're told if you don't have certain things, you're missing out or you're not good enough. And so I keep I've been doing these things and my friends are married, so they've got multiple incomes. They don't have my smaller one. It's not, so it's easy to kind of self-sabotage when you're doing what society tells you is normal.
Right. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Rebecca Henny says, Rebecca, food, shopping, gambling, social media, gaming, and many others. I'm glad we're here for each other to help, support, and lean on. I'm surprised we don't have, device dependence recovery at this point.
I think there is.
Okay.
I think there might be for people maybe not so much for, like, I'm a Gen X, so maybe not so much for our generation.
Yeah.
But maybe millennials or the younger, because they've grown up on phones.
Yeah.
Like everything all day. And I don't normally say, but I work for the U. And so I see students walking around with their head down like this. They're not looking at anything. It's all in their phone.
Yeah.
So not even necessarily knowing how to talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or having your parents. I mean, we've had things where sometimes parents want to go to their students' job interview, which are the things that, it's apparently really common. So a lot of the young people kind of coming out don't know how to do stuff that I guess I always kind of took for granted that I was going to end up doing.
Yeah. Wow.
We had a class in high school that taught us how to shake hands and how to do a resume and a cover letter and interview and so we had home ec, which I failed, but we also had that, which was learning how to do all of those things.
Well, and home ec really wasn't a fail. You just didn't like being told how to bake. It wasn't a complete fail.
On. I tell you what, those buttons and those cookies, I'm like, nah, that's not me. You just stay in your lane. I don't need to know how to do that. And then it turns out, I really kind of do need how to do it.
No offense, Smith, says Pup Grimmer, but if I had nothing to lose, I'd still be using. But I'm not a loser either. No. And that's true. No addict is a loser.
Right.
No.
They're just having major trouble with something in their lives that they can't lick. I'm a wife, a mom, a community volunteer, and a successful small business owner. People change. Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and I think that's amazing that you're a successful small business owner, a community volunteer. Those things are amazing. Those are really wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And those are all good things to help you stay sober.
Yes.
It's true. And I
Mhm.
think I put the link in, Plant Freak. I would love for you to jump in.
Yeah. Business Essentials, Cosmic Christie. I can't remember what we called it. I think it was something along those lines. Business something. Yeah, we had to like dress up and we had mock interviews and everything. It was something.
I think we all just are trying. Most of us, I think, in this world are just trying to get by.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to survive the best way we know how with the trauma and the pain that we get.
Mhm.
And the fact that I didn't choose drugs or alcohol was only because I was afraid to do those things. So I had
Yeah.
other coping mechanisms like sugar and fondling fabric and buying fabric because, you know, you need all the fabric.
Hello, Chris.
I need all the
Kiss
wool.
Freak.
Hello, Grace.
Hello. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm feeling a tiny bit overwhelmed today, trying to get a hold of a doctor, talking to lawyers, and then just seeing next week coming. So I'm doing my best to like stay in the moment versus focusing on the future.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got this.
So yes, and Rowan got me playing Minecraft. So now we have been spending hours and hours and hours a day playing Minecraft together.
That'll take your mind off of it.
Yeah. It helps. And then as soon as it's like, I'm going to take a break, it's like, oh, okay. No, Mom, you're not taking a break. It's like, but it's been 3 hours and my head hurts.
Oh, gosh.
Distraction is a coping mechanism.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, goodness. But yeah, all in all, I think we're doing pretty. He can't shake his cough, though. Can't seem to get that to go away, but the fever's gone. The runny nose is still a little bit there. It's just the cough right now. I'm sure it'll take, a couple more days, but slowly.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
some of the things that have been going around? Like the cough, like lingered for a long time after I got over whatever it was. It wasn't COVID because I kept testing. But,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to say pup groomer. When I was using, I was just lost and hurting. Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're here.
Chris, I'm almost a
So are
Minecraft
you
expert. I just need to figure out the machines now.
Are you making
I
any?
can
I'm assuming your calls are making progress, right?
Some. So one was to the doctor's office to fix that letter, but it doesn't seem like she has any time to do that until the 11th, which is my court day. So there's no opportunity for me to make it on the 11th. And then the other one was on the 28th, but I have an appointment already set with her for the 29th. So I just opted into going on the 29th instead of 2 back-to-back appointments. Get it all taken care of in a day. It's just later than I wanted it done, but so be it. All the information she needs is via email and it's in French. So it's not like there'll be a interpretation issue. And then as well, I've asked one of the social workers to come with me to the doctor's appointment on the 29th because of all of the translation issues and all of that. And then I even tried to I called, and when I spoke to them, I said, is there any way that I can add a friend onto my medical stuff so that they can do the translation for me? And they're like, well, you need to be physically present with them. And I'm like, okay, well, the person I'm thinking of, I can't be physically present with. So it's not an option.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. So I'm just like, you know what? We do what we can. And then with the lawyer, it was just a lot of emails as per behaviors. Can I scratch right there? Just all right here. Okay. All of the behaviors that we've been dealing with. So it was like 2 emails trying to explain it. And she said, you know what? Diary it all, which is already done. So half of the battle's already done. It's already written down. But
Right
then
on.
she's going to call to do a prep meeting with me on the 8th after I talk to child services. And then she's also asked for a social worker from the house to possibly be present, and she would be giving them a subpoena if need be to come to court with me
Okay.
on the 11th so that they can
Okay.
testify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So 11th should be my last child services court date. That's why it's also, oh my God, like all the information isn't there yet. And it's like next week, and
Yeah.
all of the issues around whether it was translation or just trying to get me heightened.
Mhm.
I still feel like it was the trying to get me heightened because of the confirmation I got from a worker saying I've seen this done before.
Okay.
And that is probably what they're doing.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, great. So at least I'm doing my best to stay calm. At least I'm not having fits and emailing constantly. I'm just emailing about the doctor's note. And then she can get the information from me verbally for the behaviors and things like that. Because that's what I was told when I called, and there was no English speaking workers. The worker on my case wasn't available because she's on holidays until the 8th. So,
Mhm.
hi, DJ.
DJ says hi too and purr.
So they said, no, you're still going to have an opportunity to say all of your concerns regarding behavior. It's just, I don't understand how it's fully able to be looked at 2 p.m. on Monday and then 9 a.m. on Tuesday is when the decision's being made.
Mhm.
Okay.
So it just seems too close. Everything just seems too close. So my anxiety is rather
Well,
high.
and they could just be focusing only on your case, and so that gives them the afternoon to review it.
Exactly.
I mean, so again, it just because from our layman's eyes, that is a fast time frame. We would prefer more time,
Yeah.
but they could just be looking at it just that way and really taking the time. And it sounds like you've got good attorneys who are going to make sure that all of their bases are covered, and having somebody from the home come with you or from the
Mhm.
house come with you is going to be really important too. So it's nerve-wracking, even when you walk into court and you're right, like you're
Yeah.
never 100% right on everything, right?
There's always two
But
different sides
when
to a story, and then there's the truth.
well, and not even that, just, when you walk in, sometimes like there's going to have to be a little give. You're not going to get everything you want.
Yeah.
So you walk in and you're like, okay, I know I'm not going to get everything, but as long as I get this, this, and this, then that's what's important. And
Yes.
and that's, as someone who spent a lot of time in and out of family court because I got dragged there a lot, it never gets easier, but you do get nervous leading up to it. So just
Yeah.
continue to do the box breathing, do the meditations, write it down, take your journal with you. I mean, it doesn't matter if you open your journal and it's just the F word all over the page because that's how you're feeling. You know what? Congratulations, that's a journal entry. Way to go.
Make it
You know,
decorative.
right? But it is difficult and it is stressful because this is so personal. You're not going to like traffic court,
No.
so
Yeah.
it's a good thing that you are um you're aware. And I think it's kind of like an athlete. You have that moment where you've got the adrenaline, you're focused, you've got that awareness, and you're paying attention and you're still nervous. um
Mhm.
so it's something you can use to your advantage. Whereas if somebody walks in and they just think that they're going to get everything and the sliced bread too, they're in for a rude awakening. So you're
Yeah.
actually, believe it or not, putting yourself into the best position walking in, so
Yeah.
you're really kind of energetically where you should be, if that's helpful
It
at all.
it is helpful because I question myself so much still sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just not not is not the right word. It's ingrained in me. And as we were talking earlier, the suppression
Mhm.
and addictions, which is a form of suppression, and then being taught to suppress my feelings and thoughts my whole
Right.
entire previous life, and then going into the relationship with him. It's like I've never suppressed as much as I did with him, but
Right.
Mhm.
suppression makes me question myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's just like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing this? But then When the lawyer says, make a diary of it, well, that's great. That's half done. Okay, sure. Then it kind of gives me the moment to look at it and say, look, you did do what you needed to do. You just feel anxious. Take a minute, breathe. I even screenshot the emails too, so it was easy for me to find again the ones that I sent. So then that way I can just say, okay, so this was said in the email and this is an elaboration on that. Or, or I said this and maybe it's not fully accurate, or, because I'm emotional sometimes.
Yeah.
There's some good points being brought up here. Mischief says, I want back when we were talking about addiction, this is so important to say. I really feel for people who feel they have lost everything, who are trying to stay clean and sober. They often need convincing that they are worth it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I love this thing with Rolling Stone saying, Plant Freak, that's going to be the premise of the Bipolar Express. It's going to be a road trip journal, Maine to Cali, focused on sobriety, connection, and dealing with mental issues with humor and grace. I love that.
That is wonderful.
So, yeah. And because she says, because you had mentioned traveling.
Yeah, I said I need to kind of do a tour of the U.S. so I can see all my people.
Right on.
It's going to be, flight from flight, rental car to rental car, but so be it. And I have a feeling I'll have summers, if things go in the manner in which I hope, I'll have at least a month out of every summer to myself. So that gives me the opportunity to travel or, do the things that I want to do and not having to worry about, oh, is this conversation appropriate right now? Because I question that all the time. If I'm on the phone, I'm like, oh, wait a second, is this okay to be having right now? Because all of my calls are just, I call them the adult issues to Rowan. Let me deal with the adult issues is what I'm saying, right? I don't want to explain what's happening. But I also need him to understand it's important. So it would be nice to have adult issue conversations without having to filter myself.
Yep. Stacia, Rolling Stone, and I agree. Stacia, all those people involved on both sides are going to see how great you're doing now, and that's awesome.
Thank you.
And then I love this here. Henny says, they make the same decision in the same day in Australia, Cosmic Christie says. I used to have Tupperware that had a push here in the center. I pushed there after I had filled it with gravy, and then it shot up to the ceiling, walks, etc.
Oh, no.
I remember that Tupperware.
They still make it, but in teal now. Teal and red is the new colors.
That'll teach you to follow the instructions, Henny, says Rolling Stone. And Ben said back there somewhere, stop reading my journal.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
I'm psychic. No, I'm kidding.
I wouldn't put it past you, because some of the times that you're saying something, it's like, are you in my brain right now? Even like when you send little like clips or something in the group or like privately, it's like, are you in my head right now? Seriously.
Oh.
Hi, Andrew.
Andrew, hello.
It doesn't say push here anymore. It just says the Tupperware symbol. And because Tupperware has done the same location with the same lid for so long, everybody knows to push there.
Unless you're from another country.
That's true. Well, I guess if you grew up with Tupperware, you'd know. But if you didn't, then you'd probably be very confused. Why is it not closing?
Right. I got the Pioneer woman dishes. You put the lid on. There's a little flip up in the middle. You put the lid on, and then you just put it down, and that's what causes the suction. Hi, Steve.
Hey.
So you don't have to push anything down. You just put the lid on and pop that little thing down, and then it's like.
That sounds way better.
Tupperware was based on a paint can.
Really?
the mentor of it. He looked at the paint lid, how it fit the can, and he thought that would be great if they had something like that on a plastic dish that could really seal.
Mhm.
That's cool.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
That's a 40-year-old tidbit hanging out in otherwise useless space.
He's been waiting to use that tidbit. We gave him the space. We gave him the space. I love it.
He says thank you.
And he says we're in each other's brains because we're connected.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And all of us have such similar experiences or feelings of the experiences, right? So it's like, but I get that feeling. It may not be the same situation, but I
Yeah.
get that feeling,
Yeah.
and then we can all relate that way.
Yeah. Hi, Mandrew.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're about 5 minutes from the top of the hour. Did we want to go ahead and do some box breathing and a meditation?
100%. I was trying to box breathe while they were doing all that stuff on me yesterday. It wasn't working.
She was ready to take dental tools and like jabby jabby.
So sometimes when it's really bad, I revert to my Lamaze breathing. I'm like, if you ever see me looking like that, I'm like, whoop, and there. Well, goodness sakes. Hold on. I'm falling apart over here. Give me a minute. Golly. All right. See, even my phone got excited. It was like, oh, wait. What are we doing? Hold on.
See, DJ was here because she was trying to tell me that it was food time.
There you go.
I was like, Mom, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be there right now. The food is that way.
Right.
Did the vet go okay with the pup as well, Carol?
Did what now?
Did the vet go okay with the pup as well?
Yes. Yeah, it went as good as you could possibly ask for. He was doing great when he came out. He's not groggy or anything. So
Good. Okay.
he's having to wear one of those collars, poor thing.
I call them lampshades.
Yeah. He's having and he didn't even get to have fun to have a lampshade on his head.
Aww.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, give me just a minute. All right. Give me a minute to get my own breathing under control so I'm not coughing during this thing.
So we can all take a box breath in preparation.
Right. Yeah.
There we go.
All right. Let's go ahead and do 3 box breathing, 3 box breaths, and then we'll go into the meditation. For those of you that are new, we breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, and then exhale until all of the air is out of our lungs, allowing our shoulders to drop. As you breathe in something positive, whether that's a personal mantra, I'm worthy of love, today's going to be a good day, whatever positive thing you can think of. And as you exhale, try to exhale anything that might be holding you back or whatever. We'll go into the meditation, and then when we're done, I'll tell you to open your eyes when you're ready. So go ahead and close your eyes. Shake it off a little bit, kind of get loose there. Go ahead and put your hand over your heart. Or if you prefer, imagine a little version of yourself going into your heart space and sitting in your heart center, feeling all of the love that you have for yourself. We're going to do 3 box breaths. So go ahead and breathe in. Hold. And exhale. Again, breathe in. Hold. And exhale. Last one, breathe in. Hold. And exhale. I want you to imagine that you are sitting next to the ocean, listening to the waves crash and hearing the birds sing overhead. It is a new day and a new time and a new year full of new opportunities. And I want you to imagine that one person that you love very dearly, whether still on this earthly plane or not, comes to you and sits down next to you, puts their hand on your leg, and lovingly looks and smiles at you. You both look off into the distance for a moment. And then you say to this person, the one thing that you're most proud of, that you're most worried about, that you're most scared of. I want you to take a moment in your mind to say that. Now I want you to imagine that this person looks at you and says to you in the most calming, loving voice that they have, everything is working out for your greatest and highest good. Good things will come to you. Look for the silver lining in the cloud. Love yourself. Give yourself boundaries. And know that I love you. Take a moment to think of anything else this person might say to you that was special and positive just between the two of you, that would encourage you most in this moment right now. And sit in that wise thought. As you look over, you see this person is now gone. But you are not sad, because you know that a little part of them has come into your heart to carry on with you and encourage you through whatever comes ahead. You look down at the sand and you see a rock. And you pick up this rock and you hold it in your hands, letting your body soak up the warmth from the rock that it is absorbed from the sun, giving you positive, warm energy that you need from the earth and nature. Now I want you to focus all your attention on this rock and focus all of your energy into putting that one thing that you were most concerned about or worried about, or something that maybe no longer serves you. Focus it into this rock. When you focused it completely into the rock, I want you to throw it into the deep ocean, skipping it across the water, throwing it, screaming it as you throw, however you want to get rid of it. Hearing the thunk as it sinks down to the bottom of the ocean, never to be seen again. And as you sit there, you smile with the warm sunshine and the love and the wisdom of this very beautiful person that came to you to offer you guidance in this moment that you need it the most. When you are ready, open your eyes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks.
of course, of course. I thought we could all use some positive encouragement.
Yeah.
So, well, it was good to see each and every one of you here today. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And you guys have a wonderful night.
Night. Love
You too,
you.
Chris.
Love
Bye.
everyone.
Love
Hugs,
you.
support.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Hi. Love you guys. That was so nice. That was. And I needed that one, the particular one. Bye, Andrew. Thank you for being here. It's never a meeting without you, and I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. I hope to see you in the next meeting. And until then, peace, y'all.